Hello everyone, this is Marcus here. I want to do a short video to summarize the findings of this week. So this week I wanted to understand the scientific posters and how the scientific posters are evaluated currently and how the scientific posters are used in real world and what the poster is trying to achieve versus what it has achieved. So I also wanted to compare that to data visualization dashboards and also commercial posters. So hopefully this will help us understand and develop our own automated poster generation. So to develop our own automated generation of poster natured knowledge transfer medium, should I say. In education field, they like to say the term of knowledge transfer and disseminate knowledge to spread knowledge. So a poster in real conference is served the purpose as a conversation or interaction starter. So they're used for the presenter to show off some result and also build network with the viewers. And there is this unfortunate reality that poster, unlike a pure oral presentation, is supposed to give research exposure and sort of prestige about their work, but posters are sort of treated as second-class citizen of great literature in conferences. They have not been seen as important or as serious or as prestige as a oral presentation in front of a big crowd. It's more like setting up a booth and try to catch the viewers who is passing by. And posters is also, in the contrary to what I believed before, to be purely something to hang on the wall and just for the user to look at and appreciate. But posters in real conferences, they rely heavily on oral presentation, because the learning does not happen just by looking at the posters. Learning happens when the viewers come to the presenter, or the presenter catches the eye of viewer, so they would interact and have a dialogue and have a meaningful interaction in terms of this result, this work they want to present. So back and forth in the dialogue, in the conversation, that's how people are learning about the knowledge presented in the poster. So oral presentation is very important in posters knowledge transfer. And also posters are not well documented like papers. In many cases, posters are usually discarded or disposed of after the conferences. They are not as permanent as the published paper itself. They are well documented online, but posters is not very documented. It's not very well documented. Therefore, it's harder for the literature reviewers to find or exhaustively find the papers for the posters for each paper. And from the literature that I've seen, many of them they have seen the trend of using posters increasing, but they have also seen a lot of problems with posters that is yet to be addressed, and is maybe something that we can tackle. So one thing is that the researchers like to assume that posters are a very useful medium to disseminate, that is to spread knowledge to the audience, especially with great visual appeals. They think the visual appeals would attract audience, but that's actually not true. Audience tend to find the data, even nicely visualized, simply uninteresting, because they're not motivated to pay attention to the poster at all. They don't know how this happened. They don't know the motivation behind the problem or why it is cool to solve a problem like this. They just don't have the motivation, and they don't care. They would just pass by. So that is a big problem, that when posters fail to catch the attention of the user, none of the learning process will happen, because the learning has not started yet. So also, poster fails not only at providing details because it's a very abstracted form of knowledge representation, but also so it compromises the details. But also it fails at attracting attention or interest, as some studies suggest. So that is a pretty big problem, and that is something that maybe we should consider that to do better in terms of capturing people's attention in terms of storytelling. So in a lot of studies, even when experts um, are asked to scrutinize the poster after a week and 2 week, um, they were asked to recall what happened in the poster they were shown, and the experts, um, they all pretty much have very low recall rate of what happened to what happened in the paper and what is described in the paper. Have they learned anything about paper? The recall rate is very low, and that is that is in a case of when the expert are very interested in the poster, or the poster perfectly falls in line with their interest of study. So, and also scrutinize the poster or not, recall rates is very low, and experts are not asked to answer detailed, complex questions. They're simply asked to comment on the originality and scientific merit of the paper. Such high-level questions they still cannot recall. And about the current evaluation of posters, most of these evaluations they are made up subjective user questionnaires, and many of these questions they are very limiting. So one aspect is that the questionnaire designer they have very limited understanding of knowledge transfer when they design the questions and the choices of answers. They could be misleading. It could be very biased, and also the also limitation that comes from the participating viewers, such as viewers could be not uninterested in the topic, or they're under pressure of knowing their performance is being monitored. So the rating from the user, the answers from the user is also very subjective. Oh, and yes, they usually have questions in answers in terms of how well some aspect is done and give a rating. So that is very subjective, and not sure it's very reproducible. And another important thing about a poster, the form of the medium of poster in terms of knowledge transfer and helping viewers to learn, is that interactive learning is very crucial. Poster is abbreviated in abstract form. Itself, it lacks a detail and context due to its inherent content limitation. I quoted that from the research, some research paper I've seen. So without oral presentation, it is very difficult to understand. So it is crucial for the presenter to be there and answer the question and incite interest and going back and forth in order for poster to work. So what I was thinking, maybe we should also focus on the interactiveness of our poster nature medium, because at the end of the day we wanted the user to learn, and interactiveness, the back and forth, for it to explore and answer its own questions would be very important. And also uh, studies on effects of presenting advertising information by visual posters, and the researchers they studied how how effective visual stimulate and audio stimulation and combined stimulation in terms of performance when trying to get user to learn something or buy something. They found that the poster alone is much less effective than just the oral presentation, and then a combined approach is much stronger. And that study had more than 25,000 participants. That is just to show off how important the interactiveness is, and also in addition to the poster alone. And so to maximize the learning and knowledge and transfer chance, just to display the data is not enough. Just to display the structure is not enough. The presenter needs to describe it to the audience, tirelessly describe to the audience, and incite reaction, incite interest, and facilitate interactions and dialogues to in order for the user to get a good grasp of every aspect of the knowledge the viewer or the presenter trying to show off. So many posters, even though they're only attempting at serve the purpose of inciting questions, inciting interest from the audience, so the audience is interested and devote their attention and ask for oral presentations. And so that's how it happens in conference, according to the studies. Is they try to get viewers that's passing by to get them to be interested in the presentation itself. There are also researchers that claim that a very sort of subjective way to say a rule is that the test for a good poster is if the material can be absorbed in 2 minutes. And they also think the intro, method, result, and discussion structure is way too much for the audience to understand anything, to remember anything at all. So that is not an effective way to transfer knowledge. And the good news is that as sheer volume of scientific papers are increasing, mediums like poster that facilitates the ease of understanding in a shorter time will become more and more mainstream. Even though in the future it might not be just posters, a combination of different interactive interfaces for the user to explore and interact with the author, the in shorter time to understand the content is much desired. So the summary about the current poster is that poster alone is bad at knowledge transfer. Oral presentation and interactive learning are much more effective in learning and teaching methods. And the old introduction method, result, and discussion structure is way too much for the audience to understand, even though it is nice for researchers to think that they have provided the abstract but complete knowledge, but that's just I wouldn't want to say that's laziness, but that's not making the decision to optimize the chance of viewers learning anything. And also, current posters are not great at attract interest, conveying full stories, or make good impressions. Not only because they're treated as a second-class citizen, but also they are because of the way they are presented in such, for example, like intro, method, result, discussion. Sometimes they have good data visualization, but they are just not very attractive. And also, current way of evaluating effectiveness of posters are very subjective and lack of research and attention from the research community. And many of the reviews and suggestions on how to make a good poster, they are either based on based on research authority, like the some of the good professors, they're good at making posters, would write a book about how to make good posters, or they would have evaluations of how subjective evaluations of questionnaires. So from what I've found, that in terms of evaluating scientific posters and commercial posters and data visualization dashboard, how to evaluate the poster is not clear. Like how to evaluate the posters objectively is not clear, and there are very few studies on it that studies the effectiveness of scientific posters. And though they're heavily used, but not many research has been done that we can use as a metric to measure how effective the scientific posters are. On the other hand, the data visualization dashboards and non-academic posters, they do have evidence-based and peer-reviewed backed rules. There are different research papers on how they would extract rules from with machine learning, and also verify those rules with experts in the field of, for example, data visualization and also graphics design. And so I guess my question here is, how would we use that, because we don't have much to evaluate as metric for the scientific posters, can we use the metric and what is used to evaluate dashboard design and non-academic poster graphic design and apply that to academic knowledge transfer, like apply that to scientific posters? And here are some books that some books and survey that I have gone through, and some of the books, some of the books, for example, from row 5 to 7, some of the books on how to design posters, they are highly rated. I haven't gone through the books yet, but I think those might be helpful. Um, and so yeah, these are these are some of the research papers that I've gone through in terms of trying to understand the current status of poster evaluation, and also how also about dashboards, and also automatic generation of poster natured medium for knowledge transfer. So what caught my eye was this paper on tailored summary for automatic poster generation, and using that to replace the intro method result and discussion structure. So I really like this structure because they they call it the new rhetoric categories. They are trying to tell a story of the scientific paper instead of just intro method result and discussion structure. And for example, for the aim, they have statement of purpose or the hypothesis of the purpose. So that is sort of like, for example, in the story you have you have the start of the story, you have the growing of the suspense, and also the climax, and also the ending, stuff like that, the turning points of the story. And these are the categories similar to turning points of fictional stories. And I find these are very interesting and matching to what I was thinking in terms of telling the story, telling a logic story about a research paper. So this structure, I think this structure would describe a better story to the user, to the viewer, instead of overload the user with too much information with the old intro method result discussion. So this one I'm going to look more into, and for next week I wanted to do more survey on academic knowledge transfer and what other mediums are out there, and also interactive learning about dashboard design or other interactive learning designs. And also I wanted to see how, in terms of logic underneath, how automated commercial poster generation and automated data visualization dashboard design could apply to automated academic paper generation. And also I want to make sure to straighten out the logic of automating poster generation with a good storytelling with that rhetorical categories, because I find this is very interesting, because this is not using a old structure of what should be there, but this is more of a what the logic is. It's like a is a basically is what I view as a better way of describing the story in terms of a flow of logic. I think this different perspective of describing the paper would be helpful, and that's what I'm going to look into more. And that's my that's some findings of this week, and